I don't think the Yankees can function without, like, if I'm looking at the offseason plan, I get it done. Like, they need to pick up the option, whatever it may be. Maybe if they could come to some kind of a deal where they could save money down the road, however it may be. For me, the Yankees cannot lose Gerrit Cole under any circumstance.
I don't know that they can creatively structure this because the way it's written, if he opts out, which he did, then the Yankees at $36 million for 2029 is pretty much ironclad.
There's no way to, like, defer. I was reading John Boy had said maybe they're looking at possible ways to defer.
Okay, well, that would be a good thing. And I think based on what the Dodgers did with Ohtani, there's a different business model out there. Listen, we all love Gerrit Cole. We all love him. And he's been an absolute horse. And I don't want to see him leave. And I don't think he wants to leave. And I don't think the Yankees want him to leave. But the notion that the Yankees can't exist without Gerrit Cole, to me, is flawed. I think that when you look at his decreased spin rate, his decreased velocity, and not significant, but enough where, and by the way, he's 34, so it's natural.
He'll be 34, right?
Yep. And then you look at the fact that first time in a while he's had arm issues, which plagued obviously the start of his season. It's going to be a layup in their mind. Like, what they're going to do might be different from what I would do. And what I might do if I ran the Yankees, I might let him go.
Yeah, but then who's your... Like, I still believe... And you saw what he could do in the postseason. Now, obviously, it didn't work for them all the way home, but... And are you worried about the injury? Is that a big part of this?
It's a little, but it's also, to me, and this includes even Soto, which is going to be a story every day.
Right.
Like, I'm just looking at the building of the Yankees, and
right, but you don't want to build it with that. Like, if I'm look, they should know the medicals on where his elbow and arm are at. And assuming that's clean, because if it's not, and you never know anyway, but if you're 34 and you're going to extend them down to age 39, you're probably not going to get the production that you got on the first half of this deal, as on the back end of it.
Yep.
But if I'm looking to go win a World Series next year, like the Yankees, I'm assuming they're going to try to do every year, you don't want that ace atop the rotation?
I guess maybe I'm not just looking at next year, which is part of the equation for me. Yeah, I mean, the answer shortly, just to answer you is yes, of course, I do want him on the team. I think that when you look at, somebody like Corbin Burns, I'm not saying he's quite Gerrit Cole, but he's 4 or 5 years younger. Like, there's got to be different ways to view how you build these Yankees and obviously for 2025, but beyond. Now, if the Yankees are okay, and they're going to have to be if they want to retain him, in the year 2028, in the year 2029, when he's making $36, $37 million, okay. But that is a game they played for a while. They played it with Stanton. They're going to play it with Judge downstream. I'm just saying that, and it's one thing to say that there might be a better solution. I'm also giving you a better solution, like, you're not going to like this, but are you telling me that a Burns-Manaea duo with Luis Heel and you also have Rodon for a couple of years
you have to pay him. But just because you have a bad contract in Rodon doesn't mean you should let the better pitcher of the... I'm going to be open to what you're saying here, but what do you think, first, before we get into how they would replace him, what do you think the value would be? Let's say the Yankees don't pick up that extra year.
Yep. And he walks. Well, or he could walk, I should say.
He becomes a free agent.
Yeah, he could walk.
Okay, well, what's his value, do you think, on the open market? Age 34, he's 34.
Don't we have enough evidence? And I know that Blake Snell is not Gerrit Cole.
Right.
And some other pitchers who have had to, forced to sign 2-year deals. Isn't there this massive recalibration with contracts? I think that they're in doubt. Now, maybe he defies it a little bit, and they stretch it out, and he gets an extra year or two. But the recent sample, whether it's aging first baseman or starting pitchers, it's kind of a different day in baseball. So the Yankees are going to do the opposite?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think $200 million for Gerrit Cole for 5 years is overpaying significantly. Also, he's proven in New York. You've seen what he can do. Now, again, age and health are factors.
That's my main factor.
Understood. But then who are you getting to replace him at what's Burns going to cost you? And I don't think Burns...
Not $36 a year. Neither is Manaea. I mean, do you think if it's in the neighborhood and it's a Burns-Manaea duo, don't you think that that's a better way to build, or potentially better way to build out a stat than just giving Gerrit Cole almost $40 million a year?
Let's say Manaea. What do you think Manaea gets? $25 million a year?
Yeah, 20-something. Yeah, I mean, 25-ish, 26, maybe something like that.
I mean, this is Gerrit Cole.
But not a 5 or 6 year deal. Not 5 years, which Gerrit Cole's going to get.
Probably 4 years.
Yeah, maybe an opt-out in there.
Burns might get more than that. I don't know if I like Burns, some of the stuff that I've heard.
Had a good year. What about Max Fried? He's 31 years of age.
Like, look, I think it's a fascinating conversation, and we're going to have this without just talking about Gerrit Cole. Like, you could factor in Soto, obviously, you're paying the big price versus what the Mets did this year, and you saw them have success with 1-year guys or 2-year guys on a good value. Could you build a team that way? Yes. And maybe it's just me being biased because Gerrit Cole has been here, but he is a true, like, look around Major League Baseball and show me the true aces.
No, there's not many. And he's one of them.
He's one of the true aces that has been proven in New York.
Yep.
And I hate the way that Game 5, the way that it ended, but it wasn't him. He proved to be. A matter of fact, the way that fifth inning went, he showed me even more by getting out of it or coming back and in the sixth.
I know what you mean. Back-to-back strikeouts.
Yeah, and looked dominant in the innings that followed after being gassed. Like, He's an ace. I would want to pay Gerrit Cole. I just think it all starts there from the Yankees. And by the way, with the Yanks, this isn't the Pirates, BT. Money should not be an issue for the New York Yankees.
I don't disagree with that, but it's going to be. Because if you look at the threshold of $291 without penalty, I think it's a pipe dream to think that they could get there next year. And by the way, I'm not looking to save house, starbread, or money. Like, I don't care. I mean, I know that the Yankees, they print money, so this is not so much economically driven, like to circumvent penalties. Let them figure that out.
Right.
All I'm saying is, when I look around baseball, and I know where Gerrit Cole stands, and by the way, I don't think the Yankees will do what I'm saying that they might be, or they should explore. But I would. Now, the other layer to this...
You think they do bring it back?
I think that they will.
And they pick up the 50 year?
They have to because, I guess they could always negotiate.
Well, right. Let's say that... Now, again, I don't know the specifics, but let's say they don't pick that up. Now he's a free agent. You could renegotiate and maybe, to John Boy's point, have something with deferrals. Maybe.
I mean, that would be very enticing. If they came up with something like that, I'd love it. I don't know that Gerrit Cole is going to be amenable to that. Why should he? Right now, he's looking at 36 mil if he didn't opt out. I mean, that was on lock. You're talking almost $40 million a year, 160 on lock, but he opted out. He's not going to take less.
And he, by opting out, would believe that he's going to get either the extra year or more on the open market.
Yes, 100%. Now, the other thing, too, and this is maybe, I was going to say it's more for a different day, but it's not, because the deadline is 5 p.m.
Yeah.
What does Juan Soto think about the Yankees without Gerrit Cole?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think that has a factor? I don't.
I mean, he's all about the money, but does it?
I don't think it matters what anybody else is doing. Gleyber Torres, Aaron Judge,
Well,
Juan
Torres
Soto.
not. I don't.
Well, but that's his best buddy.
Yeah, I hear you. I just think, like, if you're Juan Soto and the money's equal or incredibly comparable, having Gerrit Cole there could, push that needle a little bit in the direction of staying. I'm not saying it's now Gerrit's my guy. No, I'm not saying that, but he wants to win.
And now you start getting into a totally different conversation. But I think it all comes down to how they should build their team, or just in general, like philosophy of building a team. Do you need to pay $200 million in this case for an ace who's 34, getting older, had some elbow issues this year?
And my answer is no. You don't have to. You don't.
Right. You could go find a 1 year or 2 year value.
I'm going to find 3 or 4 year value.
Yeah.
Who's a little bit younger.
Cashman hasn't been able to do that, though. That's one issue.
I know. Well, here's the other thing, too. We'll get to the calls. Obviously, this is polarizing to me. This, to me, is...
I can't imagine the Yankees without Gerrit Cole at this point.
I can't either, but you know what? When the season started, what was the Yankees' best strength? It was their starting pitching without Gerrit Cole.
Yeah. Good point. BT and Sal on the Fan, our friends at Town Fair Tire, remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. John is in Philadelphia. What's up, John?
Hey, guys. Great show as always. I think the Yankees, as much as it pains me to say this as a Yankee fan, I think you have to let Cole go here. It's just, if you think about the Dodgers have 3 starting pitchers that one didn't pitch. Clayton Kershaw did not pitch. They had Flaherty and Buehler also free agents right now. I'm not saying the Yankees need to go out there and get them, but they put together a starting rotation that was not necessarily lights out. And we saw the ups and downs with the Dodgers throughout the playoffs. I think with Cole, you got to let him go, as painful as that is. 5 years is crazy. And then put that money to Soto. And Soto's a whole other conversation. Maybe you can throw him an offer that blows him out of the water, and he signs quick. But that's my point. I think.
But John, the only potential issue with that. Thanks for the call, man. That's why I brought Soto in, not to just hijack it into Soto, but if the Yankees were going to do that, then you would need to have an answer from Soto, which you're not going to have.
Right, but also you don't want to let Cole go and sign Juan Soto. To me,
unless you sign Burns and Manaea, or Burns and Blake, or Blake, Snell and Manaea, or Max Fried and Burns.
I feel like we're almost half weighing it here, and that's not the way that it should be.
What do you mean half weighing it?
Like, if you're going to spend on Soto, which is going to be a lot of freaking money, like, for me, I can't justify then not bringing Gerrit Cole back. I would want to bring back Cole, and if now, again, I think you can make an argument that maybe the Yankees are better off not bringing back Soto, but if I'm going to bring back Soto, I certainly want to bring back Cole and then try to add to it as opposed to, just having those two guys or one of those two guys and then trying to do it differently with Burns and Manai. Like, I get you want to have some depth. I still want that ace with Gerrit Cole atop my rotation, and if I'm going to go all in, I don't think letting Cole leave is an all-in offseason for the Yankees. I think it starts with Cole, and then from there, figure out the rest of the way you want to build your team.
Well, listen, this is one thing, and they don't know the answer yet. You and I have talked about this out, and it's going to complicate everything, not just Cole, not just Soto, everything the Yankees do. Do we really know Jason Dominguez? No. Do we really know what they're going to do at second base? We don't. Well, probably Jazz, but we don't know. What's that?
Dominguez is going to be a part of it.
He is, but this is my point. Like, if we had more intel, now Volpe's obviously going to be the starting shortstop. He's not great. He could be good, and we love Volpe, but he's not a star, and I don't think he ever will be, but he's certainly a functional major league player as a floor. So forget about Volpe. And I like Wells. I do. Strikes out a lot, though, and I think he's going to be eventually an all-star, but we don't know. So, like, if Dominguez was more of a sure thing, if Spencer Jones was more of a sure thing, if Austin Wells and even Luis Gil was more of a sure thing, then I think it would allow them to shape their decision, and it wouldn't be giving Gerrit Cole money. He's never going to be reckless, but they are going to be on a budget, and they're going to have a lot of – they need a first baseman. Right. They need a second baseman. They need a left fielder. They need a lot of things. They got to – I mean, they got a lot of holes.
Well, honestly, this is why I was saying 2 years ago when they missed the postseason, I would have traded Gerrit Cole at that deadline, and it sounds crazy at the time because I know why it sounds crazy, but – think about it. If you, and I guess the point of bringing that back into the conversation is if you're going to worry about the budget and trying to build the team differently, then yeah, I'd let Cole walk and let Soto walk and figure it out as you start to shed some of the big, because when we project forward and say, man, the Yankees are going to be screwed, a lot of that has to do with Cole and Soto. It's not just those two guys. Judge, Rodon.
Well, Stanton's got three more, for sure.
Of course, Well, LeMahieu, whatever, like we forget about DJ LeMahieu, but remember, he was built to go into this year as their leadoff hitter. It just shows you how flawed they actually were. But if you're going to, for me, I just can't halfway it. If you're going to try to shed some salary and build it differently where you look for more value as opposed to star power, then there's a path to building a rotation without $200 million invested in Gerrit Cole. In that scenario, I'm also then letting Juan Soto walk and figuring out a different way to build the team.
Well, I mean, listen, I'd love to see Soto stay if he goes somewhere else. Again, I think there's another way to build this thing out, as I've said before. Listen, to me, and it's changed, and this is me realizing that it's changed. Again, I want to keep Cole. I don't have to keep Cole. I'll tell you why. The Dodgers won a World Series with multiple bullpen games. They willingly started a World Series game in a bullpen manner. Excuse me. This is not the 80s.
And even Game 5 turned into a bullpen game.
That's true.
Only going an inning and a third.
Yeah, you're right. When they're up 5-0, and obviously everybody was tapped into. This is not the old days where I give the ball to Steve Carlton and he's going to throw 130 pitches, or it's just not. That's it. Bob Gibson, Tom Seaver, Roger Clemens, Don Drysdale, Pedro, all the horses historically, and Gerrit Cole is an absolute horse. But he's slightly diminished. I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah.
And there's been a diminishment in importance of starting pitchers.
Yes.
So if that's the case, why not for once get ahead of the curve and kind of change how you attack the roster?
I think it's a fair point. Evan is calling from Manhattan. What's up, Evan?
How you doing, guys?
Good.
What's up, Ev?
So, listen, weighing on Gerrit Cole, just got to say, so all this kind of you're trying to justify one side of it, how we can let him go, be in perpetual rebuild again. Listen, there's no way you let him go. And I'm not speaking from the terms of somebody in love with a big name, like all the people. I'm a Giants fan suffering. But, Barkley, are you crazy? The biggest. I thought that they had to do that. And here we go. Of course, he's playing great there, but Tyrone Tracy is a ball player.
Do Yanks.
Jeez.
Yeah. The winning game's not the reason.
Bye, Evan. Thank you for the call. We appreciate you checking
in. How about the 2-point conversion game, which is not existent?
We'll get, Evan, we appreciate you. Seriously, we appreciate you listening, taking the time to call, but we are talking Gerrit Cole right now. We'll get to the Giants later, so we didn't need you to rattle off all that right there. You say Gerrit Cole is clearly declining. Is that fair to say? And I understand why you say that, and I think just human nature. You get older, you're going to decline a little bit. He did win the Cy Young a year ago.
And he got hurt.
I know, but we're not 3 years removed.
I know.
Okay, so I don't know the. You're right. He got hurt, but then we saw him pitch this year,
and he said he couldn't throw an 89th pitch. Tapped out.
I know, but then it doesn't add up because in Game 5, the guy's throwing how many pitches did he end up with? He's being a bulldog out there.
I get that.
To the point where John Smoltz is salivating over Gerrit Cole. I haven't seen anything like this. I mean, John, you pitched on a team that had 4 guys like that doing it regularly.
Yeah.
So I do think that there was something to what he was saying about Cole and that performance in Game 5. That's the last time we saw him.
I've got profound respect for Gerrit Cole. I truly do. He has been everything the Yankees thought that he was going to be. I just think that sometimes to advance forward, you've got to be ahead of the curve. And that's one thing the Yankees never are. They're never.
I like the thought process.
Ahead of the curve of how baseball's going.
But remember where you're at, though. And yes, you're right. But they just paid Rodon as well. Remember where they're at. They have Giancarlo Stanton locked up still. Like, these 2 guys, let's just keep Soto aside. Like, if there's one investment, and I admit, BT, we had this conversation. I'm old school, so I still believe in having that ace to anchor your rotation. But it's been proven in recent years you don't need it.
Nope.
It's clear you do not need that guy that we used to think was the guy to have in the postseason specifically. Games 1, 4, 7, however it may be. Cole didn't even do that this year. But if there is one guy in baseball that is worth investing in right now to be that ace, it's Gerrit Cole.
I do agree with that. I mean, that's a fair statement. I guess, and there's no guarantee that it would work. I guess that I'm very interested in seeing a more dynamic, more well-rounded Yankee team like that can make more plays behind, and then maybe if Gerrit Cole's not there and you have a slight drop in whomever's at the top of the rotation, but you have guys that could run, guys that actually make plays defensively like the Dodgers and teams like that, I really think that they could. I know it sounds nuts. They could be better without Gerrit Cole. They're going to look very different, and people are going to resist it. And I think I'm more in the minority on this. And by the way, I think that the Yankees, they will not do what I'm saying that they should at least invest. I'm saying he's going to be back. But what I'm very clearly saying is, I don't know if I would bring him back.
Beat T and Sal on the fan, 888-808.
Huh? That sounds nuts.
I get it. I mean, you want to build a team, like the Mets built. They let Scherzer, Verlander, DeGrom, they let all those guys go. It is the new way, right? I mean, you want to build a team with a lineup and value pitching. I've come around to that.
Yeah.
I just think Gerrit Cole, is the one, especially that he did it here. He's the one that I would invest in. 888-808-1019. We will get to the Giants coming up in a little bit.